Canada, the boss back. The boss is back. Vancouver, we finna shut this down. You heard me? Them Luke Belair bottles on ice.
Any detective has ever asked, Drake or anybody like that? No, they never did that. So you ask yourself, how could that be?
The Drake versus Kendrick Lamar feud is heating up, and it's getting pretty wild with more people jumping into the fray. Word on the street is that Rick Ross might be Drake's latest target. Apparently, Ross was bumping Kendrick's track Not Like Us and ended up getting jumped by a bunch of people. There are rumors flying around that Drake might have had a hand in this attack, especially given his history of getting involved in similar incidents. It seems like Rick Ross and Drake's issues have escalated to physical violence, even though Drake had nothing to do with the attack. On Sunday, June 30th, the Miami rapper was booked to perform at Vancouver's Ignite Music Festival, where he decided to play Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. Rose exited the stage with the scathing diss track still playing, prompting a gaggle of goons to confront the artist. The men pressed Ross and his team as tensions began to flare. Video footage captured a heated exchange involving the MMG boss before one of the guys threw a punch, sparking an all-out brawl. Ross's crew members were getting shoved around, with some even hitting the ground, as the Canadian goons harassed and mocked them over their song choice. At one point, the clip shows an MMG affiliate lying unconscious on the festival grounds after taking a hit from the chaotic Canucks. Ross jumped into the middle of Drizzy and K-Dot's feud to air his grievances with the Toronto-born artist. While it seemed random at first, Ross later revealed that Drake had sent French Montana a cease and desist for a record, which is widely speculated to be the unreleased track Splash Brothers. This song featured all three artists and had Drake taking a shot at Kanye West, hinting at the idea that he had relations with Kim Kardashian. The track was supposed to drop in March 2024, but Drake allegedly put a legal stop to it with a cease and desist. Ross rapped about it on his track Champagne Moments, confirming the rumor that Drake had legally blocked the song from being released with his verse. "I unfollowed you, N, because you sent the MF cease and desist to French Montana, and you sent the police, N, hated on my dog project. That wasn't the same white boy that I seen, N, when we were making them early records, N," Ross taunted him on the song's outro. However, Rick Ross is doing well after the rapper was allegedly attacked. Ross addressed the alleged altercation at Ignite Music Festival in a statement to TMZ published Monday. The rapper said no one on his team suffered any serious injuries following the assault, according to the outlet. "Vancouver is a beautiful city, and I can't wait to go back," he added. In an email to USA Today on Monday, a representative for Ross said the rapper and his team are all well after the fight. The conflict at the festival reportedly began after Ross closed his set by playing Not Like Us, a diss track by Kendrick Lamar aimed at Canadian rapper Drake, per TMZ. The song can be heard playing in the background in footage of the attack. Released in May, Not Like Us is one of several diss tracks in the ongoing feud between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. In this track, Lamar takes jabs at some of Drake's public missteps, including the removal of his AI-assisted song, Tailor Made Freestyle, and allegations of grooming against the Hotline Bling rapper. Lamar and Drake's beef goes way back to 2013, when Lamar's verse on Big Sean's song Control mentioned wanting to murder Drake and other top rappers. Ross and Drake have also been trading musical shots recently. Ross dropped the diss track Champagne Moments in April, which Drake responded to with push-ups just a few days later. But it is way more than meets the eyes. From being best friends and making hit songs together, with Drake even calling Rick Ross his favorite rapper to work with, to Ross betraying Drake at a time when he needed his friends the most. The longtime duo of Drake and Rick Ross are no longer friends. Their beef has gotten personal and flat-out disrespectful.
If Rick Ross and Drake are not rapping together no more, this hurts.
But the question is, why did Rick Ross betray Drake? The story begins in 2009 in Miami, Florida, where a young Drake first met Rick Ross. Little did they know, they would leave a mark on hip-hop forever. Drake first met Rick Ross through his mentor, Lil Wayne, as Wayne was in the studio working on music with Rick Ross.
I was at maybe the next time or two I was in the studio with Wayne, I met him, and it was just genuine. He was just a cool young nigga, you know what I'm saying? You just seen, just wanted to win.
At the time, Rick Ross didn't know too much about Drake. The craziest part is how Rick Ross first heard about him. One of his girlfriends told him that Drake was talented.
I was actually kicking it with one of my, she was like, yo, Drake is so But she was a cool fly chick, so I was like, play some of his music.
In the late 2000s and early 2010s, Miami was a rap hotspot. Rick Ross and DJ Khaled were making their mark on the industry with their debut albums, Port of Miami and We the Best. They produced countless hits during this run, like Hustlin' and All I Do Is Win. They also worked with some of the biggest names in the game, including Jay-Z, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, Jeezy, Fat Joe, and even legendary singers like Akon on their tracks. If you remember this Miami era, you knew that when you heard Akon and others on a song with a group of rappers, it was going to be a banger. But what Drake didn't know was that collaborating with Rick Ross and being in Miami would change his career forever.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how much music we got.
Drake and Rick Ross would go on a legendary run, making music together for over 10 years. One of their biggest songs, Stay Schemin', was one that Rick Ross didn't even originally plan to have Drake on.
I had just pulled the beat up. Me and French Montana was sitting in the studio just vibing. Drake walked right in. Damn, that shit dope. My nigga, do your thing.
But the hits didn't end there. They appeared on numerous hit songs together, including I'm on One, Aston Martin Music, Lord Knows, Gold Roses, No New Friends, and more recently, Money in the Grave in 2019 and Lemon Pepper Freestyle in 2020. Drake and Rick Ross's relationship wasn't just business either. The two have always spoken highly of each other.
Ross is like one of my OGs, one of my mentors, and one of my favorite people in the game.
It's so easy working with the homie. I'm gonna be honest, we in the 2 percentile when it come to writers.
And even when Drake was actively trying to end Meek Mill's career, Rick Ross still didn't say anything negative towards Drake.
And I feel like really by Meek Mill being my little brother and Drake being my little homie, I really feel like they was two little homies that was in high school on the way from school and fought over a pair of J's.
Although some argue that Rick Ross had bars for Drake during this time on a song called Color Money, Meek and Drake made up in 2018. Rick Ross and Drake's business and personal friendship continued as if nothing had happened. Interestingly, just 4 months before the Drake and Rick Ross beef began in 2024, Rick Ross and Meek Mill spoke positively about Drake.
And yes, Meek Mill and Rose, we the boy heavily. You might hear more on some of this new coming out very soon, you heard?
You better believe it.
And if we look at it even closer, as late as January 2024, just 2 months before Rick Ross turned on Drake, their friendship seemed as strong as ever.
Like one of your favorite songs with Drake?
Stay Scheming, I'm gonna say Stay Scheming. Came out in the streets, it came to us when we put that record together. It was one of those vibes. So that was most definitely.
But only a few weeks after Rick Ross spoke highly of Drake, their friendship changed forever. On March 22nd, 2024, Metro released an album called We Don't Trust You with Future. Even the title sounded like it could be aimed at Drake. And indeed, it was. The album included many disses towards Drake from Future, as well as Drake's other known enemies like Kendrick Lamar and The Weeknd. What surprised everyone was seeing Rick Ross appear on this album and seemingly choosing Drake's enemies over him. Rick Ross also unfollowed Drake on Instagram, seemingly after Metro tweeted to pick a side, catching everyone by surprise.
If there's no beef between them, why does Ross unfollow Drake?
If Rick Ross and Drake are not rapping together no more, this hurts.
But Drake wasn't about to mourn the loss of his friendship. He responded in the most Drake way possible by giving Rick Ross's ex-girlfriend the OVO experience at his concert just a few days later.
Look at this. She's at Drake's show. Showing off Drake, but she could have just bought a ticket, right? Who knows? Maybe she just bought a ticket. You would have thought so.
Rick Ross and his ex-girlfriend Christina Mackey were in a public relationship for about 6 months, which ended in early March 2024, just a few weeks before the Rick Ross and Drake feud went public. During their time together, they seemed happy and spent a lot of time with each other. To Christina's credit, she described their breakup as peaceful with no hard feelings. However, it seems that both Christina and Drake knew what they were doing by having her at Drake's concert and posting about it. They used this to potentially make Rick Ross feel jealous or disrespected in response to their falling out.
Drake is a slimy Yo, I'd be damned if me and you got songs together and we mans and you give my ex-girlfriend tickets to your concert. You giving her special tickets that she could pull up with an OVO.
After seeing what Drake had done, Rick Ross decided to go even further and responded by posting a video on Instagram. In the video, he was listening to Kendrick Lamar's feature on the album We Don't Trust You. where Kendrick was dissing Drake. But Rick Ross wasn't done there. He then posted a bottle of Bel Air, lining up Metro Boomin, Future, Kendrick Lamar, and Drake in that order from top to bottom, with Drake positioned at the bottom. He captioned it, "Official Bell is really like that," highlighting Drake at the bottom because of the song Kendrick Lamar D Doctor on. But the Instagram play fight was over, and Drake and Rick Ross were about to get dark and disrespectful. On April 13th, 2024, Drake's diss track Push Ups leaked online.
It's here! It's time! God damn! Holy! Ladies and gentlemen, this is a shot that will be heard around the world!
And he responded to everyone attacking him, including some heat for Rick Ross.
What I'm living, I might take your latest girl and cuff her like I'm Ricky.
It sounds like you're describing a specific verse or line from Drake's diss track Push Ups. In this line, Drake is referencing the fact that he invited Rick Ross's ex-girlfriend to his show. He uses the phrase "cuff her like I'm Ricky" as a double entendre, suggesting he might cuff her, get into a relationship with her, like Rick Ross, who is known as Ricky Ross. Cuffer can also imply cuffing someone like a police officer, cuffer like an officer of the law, referencing Rick Ross's past as a correctional officer. Drake then makes a crucial statement, implying that many of Rick Ross's hits are successful because of him.
Every song that made it on a chart he got from Drizzy.
Out of the 3 top 10 hits Rick Ross has, all of them include Drake. Money in the Grave by Drake featuring Rick Ross, Lemon Pepper Freestyle by Drake featuring Rick Ross, and I'm on One, produced by DJ Khaled featuring Drake, Lil Wayne, and Rick Ross. And things didn't end there. In this context, Drake suggests that Rick Ross isn't on his level money-wise and tells him to focus on himself. In the leaked version of this song, Drake actually said something else as well.
Worry about whatever going on with you.
This is possibly referring to the rumors about Rick Ross hanging out with Diddy. As we all know, Diddy is in a whole situation right now. However, this reference didn't make it into the final version of the song. After Drake's diss track leaked, everyone was going crazy. But only hours after it surfaced, Rick Ross dropped his own diss track called Champagne Moments in response to Drake.
Let you get on my songs. It was.
Oh my God. It's real. It's real. Ah!
Ross wasted no time getting disrespectful and personal on his track Champagne Moments in response to Drake.
Ghostwriters, they get the floss what you could.
In the first line of Champagne Moments, Rick Ross is referring to Drake always being accused of having a ghostwriter.
That my strongest talent is writing. That is my strongest talent. I'm not a great singer. I'm a good performer. I've grown into a great performer. But my greatest talent is writing.
The ghostwriter accusations against Drake stem from 2015, and interestingly enough, it was Rick Ross's artist Meek Mill who first made those accusations. To the benefit of hip-hop fans, rappers Drake and Meek Mill have been feuding since last summer, exchanging diss tracks where they throw verbal barbs at each other. This includes Drake's notable single, Back to Back. The headline-grabbing battle began when Mill accused Drake on Twitter of using a ghostwriter for his featured verse on Mill's track, Rico, and he hasn't let up on these claims. "This is hip-hop, you ain't write it, don't record it," Meek raps to Drake on his latest diss track, All the Way Up Remix. The charge might sound odd. After all, much of American music involves artists either playing other artists' songs or using ghostwriters. Elvis Presley is a prime example, consistently ranking at the top of Forbes' annual top-earning dead celebrities list. As rock critic Chuck Klosterman noted in the New York Times, like Frank Sinatra, Elvis did not write songs. He interpreted songs that were written by other people. Wikipedia also has a useful chart detailing Elvis's songs and their writers, underscoring this fact. The Beatles followed a similar trajectory. Initially, their music featured covers as prominently as original songs, before they later revolutionized rock music with the songwriting talents of Lennon and McCartney on albums like Please Please Me and With the Beatles. Even more straightforwardly, Sir Elton John has maintained a songwriting partnership with Bernie Taupin for over 50 years, as reported by Rolling Stone. Taupin often writes the lyrics for John's songs. Pop stars ranging from the Supremes to Beyoncé, Kelly Clarkson, and Rihanna have all had hits written by others, according to Billboard. Hip-hop deviates somewhat from rock or pop in that rap often revolves around personal narratives. Unlike those genres, part of rap's appeal, as noted by Goodwin College English professor Matthew Hodgman in the Journal of Sociological Research, lies in its perceived authenticity. Artists speaking about their own experiences earn credibility in hip-hop, which enhances its appeal. After all, no one actually thought Elvis Presley had spent much time in a jailhouse, but that didn't take away from the enjoyment of listening to jailhouse rock. But it would be jarring to think Jay-Z had fabricated his childhood in the Marcy Projects in Where I'm From. The difference between what is and what is not real is at the crux of rap authenticity configuration, Hodgman wrote, going on to say of Eminem, who is white in a mostly black genre. The authenticity of Eminem's art lies in his ability to honestly represent a black urban lower class space. This idea is seen throughout rap lyrics. I rap, and I'm real, I'm one of the few here, Jay-Z raps on, real as it gets. In some ways, a ghostwriter is the antithesis of credibility. On last year's hit single King Kunta, Kendrick Lamar raps, I can dig rappin', but a rapper with a ghostwriter? What the F happened? We expect it to be personal. We expect it to be from the heart and straight from that individual's experience. Underground UK rapper Yes told the BBC in 2014. Grandmaster Caz, who became famous at the beginning of rap's development in the 1970s, strongly agreed. He also told BBC in 2014, it's a travesty, anybody who calls themselves an MC and doesn't write their rhyme. No way you can even stand in the same room as an MC if you don't write your rhyme, plain and simple. But ghostwriting in rap, taboo as it might be, isn't uncommon. In fact, Caz is rumored to have written several of the verses on the Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight, which is considered the genre's first recorded song, Complex reported. It's just kept secret. I think I set a rate. Every bar, $1,000, MF Grimm, a California-based ghostwriter who reportedly wrote dozens of verses throughout the late 80s, for which he received no royalties and no credit, told Forbes last year. Everything I did was off the books. That isn't to say rap ghostwriters aren't paid well. Forbes reports they typically receive between $10,000 to $20,000 for each anonymous contribution. The view about ghostwriters may be changing, though, at least in some circles. As rapper Noor told rap blog Hip Hop DX in 2013, at first, I used to be like, yo, B, if you're not living that lifestyle, you shouldn't speak about it, Noor said. Now, the way I feel like it, I really respect entertainment. I really respect the artistry. And as Vibe noted in 2013, most of the genre's superstars, from Kanye West to Dr. Dre, are rumored to use ghostwriters, who are frequently rumored to be other well-known rappers. In fact, North Carolina rapper King Mez gave an extended interview with Pitchfork last year in which he openly discusses ghostwriting for Dre on his newest record, Compton. Oh, and for the record, Drake all but admitted to Fader last year that he has used a ghostwriter. I need sometimes individuals to spark an idea so that I can take off running, he said, adding, music at times can be a collaborative process, you know? Who came up with this? Who came up with that? For me, it's like, I know that it takes me to execute every single thing that I've done up until this point. And I'm not ashamed. Rick Ross also criticized Drake for potentially paying ghostwriters over the years with all the money he's made, suggesting Drake could have kept it for himself if he had written the songs. He then takes a jab at Drake's label, OVO Sound, noting that besides Drake, Party Next Door was a standout talent in the 2010s, but has since taken a break. Rick Ross contrasts Drake's situation with his own as the boss of MMG, Maybach Music Group, which has had successful artists like Meek Mill and Whale. He points out that Drake is still signed to Universal, implying he's making money in a more employee-like role, whereas Rick Ross has more control over his career. Furthermore, Rick Ross suggests that Drake's career might be declining, despite Drake's reputation as one of the best in the game. He references Drake's recent album, Certified Lover Boy, which received mixed reviews but still debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts, selling 402,000 units in its first week. In contrast, Drake's 2022 album, Her Loss with 21 Savage, also debuted at #1, selling 404,000 units in its first week and receiving positive support.
Run up on you and snatch your chain, watch you bleed.
In this line, Rick Ross is quite direct with what he's saying, responding to Drake's assertion in his diss track, Push-Ups, where Drake flat out said nobody is taking his chain or anyone in his crews, implying he's untouchable no matter how disrespectful he gets. At this point, it's clear Rick Ross isn't playing with Drake, and he's only just getting started. Rick Ross continues by warning that the next time they see each other, Drake better maintain the same energy. This suggests that while Drake might try to appear friendly in person, he'll continue being disrespectful online. However, history has shown that Drake and his team allegedly avoid confrontation in person if something happens, and it was specifically seen when he was questioned during Valet's M case. In the years since his passing, XXXTentacion's team has posthumously released several albums and a documentary, keeping his memory alive through his music and creativity. However, his name is now making headlines beyond memoriam. The murder trial involving suspects Traven Newsom, Dedrick Williams, and Michael Boatwright began at the Broward County Courthouse with opening statements on Feb. 7. During the trial's first day, jurors heard both sides of the case, with the most shocking moment being the mention of Drake as a potential suspect. Interestingly enough, XXXTentacion and Drake had a storied past, similar to Drake and Rick Ross. In opening statements on February 7th, Williams' defense attorney Mauricio Padilla provided an alternative scenario that involved global star Drake. In his argument, he brought up an old, now deleted Instagram story in which XXXTentacion wrote, "If anybody kills me, it's Drake." Padilla is suggesting that prosecutors never did their due diligence in investigating Drake as a suspect or person of interest after learning of X's previous claim. Do you think that for one moment, here today, days after the event, he's killed by two masked men, right? The attorney questioned. Do you think in the time span that they went and addressed stuff and talked to him? No. Do you think sitting here today, years later, any detective has ever asked, Drake or anyone like that? No, they never did that. If any of us were involved in a murder and they said, it's so-and-so, you better believe so-and-so is going to get investigated. But in this case, they didn't do it. The suspected feud between X and Drake dates back to 2017 when Drake previewed a new song during a tour stop in Amsterdam. Some concertgoers suggested the new song sounded eerily close to X's hit single, Look at Me. Drake, who has been accused of biting other artists' sounds in the past, denied all accusations. XXXTentacion later responded in a series of angry tweets. The beef was never publicly squashed. Drake was not the only high-profile artist that Padilla mentioned in court. The attorney also brought up the issues the XXXTentacion has with Drake and Migos. Padilla appears to be referencing the same 2017 incident that started with Drake previewing new music at his 2017 concert. Following X's Twitter rant, Migos member Offset responded by stating that X was unheard of. So now what people are thinking is that if Drake possibly can be involved in XXXTentacion's murder, there is also a chance that he may have also been involved in Rick Ross's recent attack. However, Rick is again facing backlash from Drake's fandom. One person wrote, "Don't blame Kendrick and Drake for that. Rick was being disrespectful and thought it was sweet over there. He wanted to go viral, he did, just not the way he intended." Another one added, "Ross made a diss against Drake, shot a video and everything. Wicked don't know what he talking about." That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.